Hello and welcome to Wisdom and Productivity, the podcast of Dr. Efraín Martinez. I am a school principal in search of wisdom, and I have found productivity to be a great tool for life's success. Today's episode's title is A Prelude to the Post Pandemic Principalship. 5 principles. I had to Google what prelude was because I was learning more about Nietzsche, and the definition is an action or event serving as an introduction to something more important. And what more important than to learn on how to be able to be a school principal and still have a life. But before we continue, let's celebrate the community of Teach Better.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. Explore more podcasts at www.teachbetterpodcastnetwork.com. Now let's get back to the episode.
Okay, let's begin. Centuries are not merely defined by the number of years, but by the impact of events. When Dr. Fauci recently declared the US is out of the coronavirus pandemic phase, a new century began. The game changed and went from kindly reminding students the importance of wearing masks to not really caring if anyone is wearing one. However, the ramifications of all of these changes demand more leadership from principals and educators in general. Here are 5 principles the pioneers of this new century should implement. Number 1, you are not your job. Let me repeat. You are not your job. Consider switching your brain from serving children to a career of serving children. The first one situates you as your career comes before your life, while the latter describes a human that, when active in the game of life, serves children. Your empathy increases when you get to distance yourself in order to properly heal. So let's unpack this a little bit, okay? Because the first time I heard this from a very good friend of mine, I was offended. I was in a professional learning event, and the speaker said, I am not there to serve. This is a job. And when I heard that, it really crumbled what I thought I was doing. You see, when I was growing up, I grew up in a family that cherished service, sacrifice for the others, and helping others. So during my years as an educator and my years especially as in my years as school principal, I have really adopted a mindset where I was there to serve, to give myself, to sacrifice everything in my life to be able to accomplish a goal of supporting students to live a better life. And let me tell you how hard it was to detach myself from the daily frustrations of the um, systematic errors in our society that are only some we have only some reach to change. So I will go home suffering and with anguish for every one of my students or the staff that I was leading, until one day it dawned on me, how come my physician and my nurses and my therapist and anyone that I can count on, how come they never seem to be so afflicted by the tragedies that they have to address in supporting others? And with time and research and mentorships and having conversations, I came to realize that I am not there to serve, but in a position that is paid to serve. It's quite distinct, because in the first one, it's like a life dedicated to that. And in reality, my main duty as a human being is to be a father and to be a husband, to be a family man, to to improve my mental health, to have a better quality of life. Mother Teresa says, if everybody will clean their front door, the entire world will be clean. So when you are able to decide that, just like in a play, in a theater play, you jump with a different costume. So I have two costumes. My real one, the one that is home, taking care of the family, loving them, supporting them, the one who is doing mindful activities, exercising, the one who is doing this passionate project of the podcast. That is Efrain, the persona. And also, when I play in the game of life, the position I play is of a school principal. And in that position, my duty is to serve. You see, it's quite distinct, because I can increase my empathy on how others feel when I am completely in charge of what happens in my personal life. That doesn't mean it's perfection, but when I have a significant investment in improving my quality of life, then I can play in that position to expertise. Think about of any sports figure, right? They dedicate all their lives to ensure that they do that job of swimming or playing basketball or soccer to be the best of the best. So you can apply the same principles when you detach what you do for a living to what you are. And then guess what? The students still get your service, your staff still gets your service, and they get your full you, your full persona, your full support. And at the end of the day, when you go with your loved ones to see your physician, you expect world class treatment. When you go and see Freddie Mercury in a concert, you expect to be the absolute best concert of that artist. So, the same to you as a principal, as an educator. To give your best, you have to be able to detach so you can have two roles in your life. Number two, better happy than successful. Happy is for self, being successful is for others. To be good or great at what we do in the game of life, we must first have our homes in top shape, our temples. One can only have impactful changes when we live those changes ourselves. It's not about Instagram perfect life, but about continuous and sincere improvements. Okay, so I have struggled with this one for quite a while, and it has to do a lot with my childhood. You see, my father had different views on the quality of life and success of his oldest son. And when I say older, it means that when I was born, that brother of mine was almost 40 years old. And when I was 12, 13, 14, all my teens, my father will say stuff like, look at your brother. He could have been much more. He could have attained much more, achieved much more. And I guess I always wanted to satisfy my parents, to satisfy, to be able to reach the highest top of the highest mountain, to be successful. But with time, I learned that being successful was not really for me. It was I was trying to fill a role that my father was somehow hoping I will develop, and I was like showing him and teaching him, "Hey, I can be more successful and be the son you want to be proud of." And like Seneca says, often we suffer more in our imagination than in real life. So for real happiness, I was not attaining it because I was so focused in my career and success. My. But when you do the happiness, that happiness is for you. And when you are happy, you can support others. You can be a good partner. You can be a good partner. You can be a principal that supports every staff member when where they're at, not where they should be, where they are at. And believe me, you are going to make mistakes. But when you are vulnerable, when you are sincere, when you try your absolute best to bring the best in each human being that you have to interact, then you are going to fulfill that bucket of happiness. And you're going to be able to have more energy after work so you can have a better life. Number three, it's not personal. This one is so difficult, right? Because we work with people that we care for, people that we love, people that we cherish. And when they do stuff that disappoint us or anger us or betray us, often we take it personal and we suffer in that train of imagination when we are driving to and from work. But you have to understand that it's not personal. Nothing that happens is about you. It's not about pursuing a life without problems, but a life where we can navigate through the problems in peace and calm. So think about there's a destination that you are going to. There's an end of the rope, and you imagine that you're gonna wake up and suddenly there will be no trouble. That today will be a better day because nobody will complain and nothing will break, and no, you will have no struggle. But in reality, life is full of problems. From losing your peanut butter that you wanted for that sandwich, to getting a flat in your car, cell phone breaks, car crash, death. So many things that you have to always struggle, and you have two options. One, waking up every day in frustration, hoping that this is the day that you can have no issues and be successful with no problems. Or the day that you say, like a Jedi, no matter what happens today, no matter what happens, nothing takes away my confidence. Number four, embrace mindfulness. There are several things that you can do to ensure that you get the best of yourself. Here are some examples. Number one, of course, meditation. When you meditate, you learn how to focus only in one thing. if we want to be successful and happy in our relationships, we have to focus on what is better for the person you're trying to treat and yourself. You have to focus in what is important for people. You have to focus in what they are telling you so you can internalize and therefore provide the support that is needed. Sometimes you just need to listen. Sometimes you don't even need to talk. And when you meditate, you discipline yourself to be able to do that. And then you can focus when you are eating. You can focus when you're having a conversation. You can focus when you want to tell your loved one something beautiful or difficult. You can also exercise. It is imperative that we stretch our bodies, that we work out that metabolism, because it's use it or lose it. One of the favorite quotes is, disease is the crown that only the sick can see. Look at that. It is so important that we value what we have. Exercise all that you can, but at least a little bit every day. Another mindful activity that we can do is to eat good foods. What we don't pay now by eating something that is not the best, we're going to pay for it later when it's too late. So this means that every opportunity that you have to eat the best food that goes with the needs of your body is an investment that you do in the bank of life. And finally, sleep well. Sleep well is so important, that you allow your body to rest, your mind, your being. It's so important that you value the time and commitment that is needed to have a good night rest, because then you are refreshed. You are able to give yourself to the world, to give your best to your loved ones. Make sure that you sleep well. The scientists say that it's not necessarily 7 or 8 hours. It depends on the needs of your body. But ask your physicians, get a consultation, ask an expert, and find out how many hours you need to sleep, and stick to a schedule. Because when you make something important like sleeping, then your body is going to get in the habit of respecting that habit of sleeping. And then after 66 days, it becomes a habit. And number 5, principle 5, enhance your productivity and elevate your life. Okay, so when you are treating patients, when you are supporting students, when you are encouraging teachers and educators, other administrators, you have to understand that everybody is living in a castle. Everybody's the king and queen of that castle, and everybody is the expert inside that castle. Everybody lives in a castle. And when you are trying to support people, you are entering their castle. You have to respect them as a human being. You have to understand that everybody has glows and grows. So for you to be able to do that, you have to be on top of your mindset, but also of the things that you need to get done. So here are some recommendations. Number 1, capture your ideas. David Allen tells in his book, Getting Things Done, GTD, that the number one principle of the great minds is to ensure that they capture their ideas. I personally use three methods to capture my ideas. Number one, I use an app called Todoist. And Todoist is a wonderful startup company that has this task management system. And it's exactly that, from organizing, I need to send an email to so and so, write a letter of recommendation to my friend, I need to purchase a school shirt, but also it allows you to create projects. Let's say, for example, for this podcast, I can create a list of all the things I need to do: titles, images, video editing, audio editing, even though I don't do any of those. And you can make a list to ensure that things get done. I also use Apple Notes and Apple Reminders to support me in the things I need to do at home. If I need to buy salt, hey Siri, remind me, add salt to the supermarket list. Or the Apple Notes is a great way to write my ideas in when I don't have a lot of time to actually write it in my journal. And also I can paste articles, I can send them as a note, and then I can see it in all my devices, and that facilitate the access of wisdom. Or, and the final advice in terms of capturing your ideas is get a journal and write your ideas. It is so important that you write your ideas, but also that you plan your weeks, your days, and you can reflect on everything that can happen. And then what happens that you can go back to that date and see your notes, see what appointments you had, and that is often very useful to ensure that you get things done. Number two, use a calendar. Very important that you use your Google Calendar or any other calendar to write everything that you need to do from work, but also from life. It is so important that you have your calendar accessible because people are going to be asking you all the time to be commit for this or commit for that. And when you have that access to your work calendar, but also to your personal calendar, you're better able to ensure you don't schedule two things or three things at the same time, and you also ensure that you can focus in the things that you need to do. For example, when you do email, you should focus either in your calendar, and you know that for these 25 minutes you're only going to do email, or during this hour you're only going to work in that schedule, or in these 45 minutes you're going to talk to a teacher and then reflect on that action. And why it's important that you have it in your calendar? Because at the end of the day, when you see what you are done, it's done. But what you see you haven't, you can schedule it for another time to ensure that those things that are important get done. So I believe these are all the five principles of a prelude to the post-pandemic principalship. It has been a pleasure to be here with you. Congratulations to all the school principals in the entire world. What you do matters. Thank you, and thank you.
Thank you for listening to Wisdom and Productivity, the podcast of Dr. Efraín Martinez.
Chulo.
And LS.Production. Chill out.